This ring, in more ways than one, is a true reflector of all economic activity in India. In the last 15 years alone, the number of people who have invested here in the future of Indian industry has zoomed 750%, from 2 million to 15 million, or roughly one family out of every 10 in India. And it promises to multiply much faster in the next 10 years. Already, their investments add up to some 40% of India's GNP. And the growth rate continues to accelerate as thousands of new companies get listed here each year, while existing companies keep expanding. For this, after all, is the Bombay Stock Exchange. It is, to put it simply, the best governed and best regulated stock exchange in the country. How does the Bombay Stock Exchange work? How does it regulate the trading activities and ensure prompt settlements? What kind of guidance does it offer to the investor? And how does it help him safeguard his investments? For the serious investor, this is vital information. And this film has been produced to help provide the answers. Let's begin with the basics. Capital markets deal in commercial papers whose intrinsic value can rise or fall, like equity shares and debentures. The capital market is really two markets. New issues of shares or debentures constitute the primary market, and any investor can buy them directly from the company. Once these issues are listed at a stock exchange, such as the Bombay Stock Exchange, they can be bought and sold. This is the secondary market. An investor cannot trade here directly. He can do so only through a broker or a sub-broker, accredited by the Securities and Exchange Board of India and admitted by the governing board of the exchange as a member. Now let's see how trading is done. Suppose you want to sell your holdings in a particular company, provided you can get the right price. Your broker tells the jobber dealing in that company's shares that he is interested in a deal. The jobber's fingers give him two answers. This is the price at which I'm willing to buy, and this is the price at which I will sell. If the figures are acceptable, a deal may be struck. If not, the broker checks with someone else. When buy and sell offers match, both the buyer and the seller record the transaction in notebooks known as Sauda blocks. Ever so often, a quotation assistant of the exchange visits the jobber, notes the bids and offers, as well as the transaction prices, and passes them on to the control room. Here, the information is immediately entered into the Bombay Stock Exchange's Display Information Driver System, called DIDS for short. Instantly, the prices are heard over a public address system and, at the same time, flashed on a battery of large TV monitors located in the trading ring. In addition, these prices, along with company news and exchange announcements, also appear on the ticker tapes inside the trading ring. Responding to the new prices, brokers may get onto the hotline to their offices to give instructions or to get information. People sometimes wonder why the stock exchange members have devised a sign language of their own. The answer is really quite simple. During the 3 hours of trading each day, there can be as many as 3,000 persons in the trading ring, all trying to do business at the same time. Even with a sign language, the noise is deafening. Between them, they do 50,000 trades an hour, more than the New York, London, and Tokyo stock exchanges put together. Typically, in these 3 hours, the deals they strike add up to some 250 to 300 crore rupees. When trading hours are over, activity moves into high gear for 3 groups of people. The quotation department verifies the day's figures for each scrip. open, high, low and closed that have already been entered into DIDS. By 5:30 in the evening, the day's PAV copy is compiled, printed and ready for distribution. The Bombay Stock Exchange itself publishes 8,000 copies, but these are duplicated by independent operators, and as many as 50,000 copies find their way to active investors who plan their next day's trading on the basis of this information. The brokers too are busy. They have to submit before the end of the day complete details of every transaction they have entered into. They can do this on computer floppy disks, or they can fill in the Bombay Stock Exchange's color-coded Sauda sheets. The color identifies the classification of the scrip. Red for Group A, that is specified shares. Green for Group B, that is non-specified securities. And brown for Group C, that is odd lots. So, it's a long working day for quotation assistants and brokers. But for the computer department, there's no question of going to bed. Their work begins now. Between the time the Sauda data comes in and the time the brokers arrive for work the following morning, the computer department must key in and verify every single transaction. The data entry work takes up the whole night, for in 3 hours of trading, 150,000 to 200,000 transactions have been entered into. As both the buyer and the seller submit Sauda entries, the number of entries is double the number of deals. And early in the morning, when the milk vans and the newspaper boys are on the roads, the ICIM Series 39 computer at the Bombay Stock Exchange is comparing each buy transaction with the corresponding sell transaction. Those that don't match are isolated, and the others sent for onward processing. By 10 in the morning, well in time before the brokers start arriving, the daily transaction statements are ready for them. Up to now, transactions have been agreed upon and verified, but no scripts and no money have changed hands. Let's see how this happens. Transactions in specified shares can be carried forward from one settlement period of 14 days to another settlement period by payment of badla charges, normally by the buyer to the seller, called Seedha Badla, and occasionally by the seller to the buyer, called Undha Badla. On the basis of the daily statements issued during the previous 15 days, the computer center prepares the necessary delivery orders, as well as consolidated money statements for each broker, indicating the total amount he has to pay or receive. For Group A, the specified shares, all settlements are handled by the clearinghouse. For the non-specified securities and for odd lots, settlements are done once a fortnight on Patawar Day. Carry forward of transactions is not permitted. For non-specified securities, the clearinghouse processes the payments, while the actual exchange of share certificates and transfer deeds is done in the trading ring. Together, these orders could add up to more than 1,500 crore rupees. 500 crores for specified shares and 1,000 crores for non-specified securities, and a relatively negligible amount for odd lots. Once this has been done, the final step is for the new owner of the securities to get them registered in his name by the company. But things don't always move smoothly, and sometimes there are problems. For example, signatures may not match, or the transfer form may turn out to be invalid for one reason or the other. how does the stock exchange deal with these situations?
શું છે complaint તમારી?
I want to 25,000 brokerage from this party.
If there's a dispute between brokers, it's referred to the arbitration committee for corrective action.
3 years back.
બીજા કોઈ ક્લાયન્ટ આઉટસ્ટેન્ડિંગ પૈસા ક્લાયન્ટ આઉટસ્ટેન્ડિંગ
કોઈ બી outstanding
એવું બની શકે કે ક્લાયન્ટના પૈસા ના આવતા હોય એટલે તને બ્રોકરેજ ના મળતું એવું કોઈ
નહીં, કોઈ કારણ નથી.
તમારે શું કહેવાનું છે?
So we file the counter claim against them.
અચ્છા મિત્ર જરા details માં કહો.
In extreme cases, if a broker is declared a defaulter, the exchange may sell his membership card and his other assets and distribute the proceeds among his creditors. If an investor has a complaint against a broker or a company, it's handled by the Investor Services Cell. Some 10,000 complaints are lodged here each month, most of which are against companies, and more than 90% of them are resolved immediately. In addition, the exchange has also constituted a Customers Protection Fund, which gives each investor an insurance cover against precisely this kind of risk to the tune of 25,000 rupees. And the listings department keeps a watchful eye on the companies to ensure that they publish their accounts on time and keep the investors informed about their performance and their activities. Each of these checks and controls conforms to the guidelines laid down by the Securities and Exchange Board of India and the Government of India. We all know that prices of securities sometimes go up and sometimes come down. It's not always easy to predict what will happen on a given day or in a particular week, but there are some signs we can look out for. One of these is the company's fundamentals, the demand for its products, the experience and quality of its management, and its track record, which can be judged by the book value of its shares, its earnings per share, its price to earnings ratio, and the dividends it has paid. The market quotations for a particular scrip or an entire industry don't move up or down at random. There's usually a clearly definable pattern, and by studying the trends carefully, it's possible to get a feel of what will happen next. So, fundamental analysis can tell you which scripts to buy or sell, while technical analysis can tell you when. Usually, both kinds of information are published by the newspapers. But if you are looking for more detailed information, all you have to do is to visit the Bombay Stock Exchange Library. In addition to financial journals and business publications, it has thousands of books that can help the investor, and it's open to all. One of the publications you'll find in this library is the Bombay Stock Exchange Official Directory, prepared by the Exchange's Research and Statistics Department and updated every week. This publication documents the complete financial history of every single company that's listed on any of the stock exchanges in the country. And if you'd like to learn more about investment and techniques like fundamental or technical analysis, you can enroll for a special training program. The Bombay Stock Exchange regularly conducts courses for both investors and brokers. Overseeing this complex system of people and machines is the Bombay Stock Exchange's governing body and a management team that has in the last 10 years alone steered the exchange to a growth of more than 20 times. A growth that has been truly stupendous even when compared with overseas exchanges. The pace of growth continues to accelerate. And the Bombay Stock Exchange has launched a series of programs to manage it. To begin with, the settlement cycle is being shortened from 15 days to just 7 days for non-specified shares. And efforts are on to bring it down to just 3. Trading has moved to a larger, state-of-the-art trading ring housed in the Rotunda building, specially constructed just for this purpose. The new ring provides the members with all the facilities found in the world's most modern stock exchanges, including computers, TV monitors, ticker tapes, and telephones. An intercom system now connects all brokers' offices, and an elaborate computer network links the brokers with the Bombay Stock Exchange's mainframe computer. This network will soon enable the Bombay Stock Exchange to move over to trading directly through computers. And later, the network will be widened to connect the Bombay Stock Exchange with other stock exchanges, not just in India, but throughout the world. Yes, the Bombay Stock Exchange has certainly come a long way from the time it started more than 100 years ago as an open-air exchange under this tree. Where will this growth take the Bombay Stock Exchange?
When computerization takes place, then more and more players and jobbers will be in the market, because more players will be able to participate in the market operation even sitting outside on computer. Secondly, transparency of the transactions will be ensured. When the rates of the transactions at which the transaction is being done and for how many shares the transaction was done and all that thing will be displayed in the computer. And that's why an investor or operator will come to know at what rate transaction is being done. And watching the screen, he will be able to decide about the purchase or selling order which he would like to give to the broker.
Basically, it is a well-regulated stock exchange with the authorities acting without fear or favor. And equally important, it is the breadth and the depth of the market. Bombay Stock Exchange accounts for about 2/3 of the business. Large volumes of business can be put through in the Bombay Stock Exchange with little oscillations in prices, which is indicative that it's a very broad and liquid market. Hence the attraction towards the Bombay Stock Exchange.
In Bombay Stock Exchange, we work on the principle of my word is my bond.
With the progressive adoption of policies towards liberalization and also the policy of what is known as privatization, disinvestment of the public sector units, the prospects for the Bombay Stock Exchange are tremendous. The market capitalization will improve by leaps and bounds. The turnover of the Bombay Stock Exchange also will increase sharply. And more importantly, the number of investors in the country today, equity holders, who are estimated to be about 15 million, I see the figure to be at least 40 million by the end of the current century.
Yes, as the Bombay Stock Exchange grows, it will become the very nerve center of India's economic activity. A vibrant and dynamic engine to power the industrial India of tomorrow.